Rangers were unable to beat Dundee at Dens Park, but could they beat Dundee in getting to Lyall Cameron's signature? Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. And Rangers, it looks like, according to the Daily Record, are interested in signing out of contract Dundee player in the summer, Lyall Cameron. Now, Lyall Cameron's contract will come to an end this season, and there is reportedly a bunch of clubs interested in Cameron, and one of those clubs is Rangers. Now, also, Dundee are keen to keep him, and why wouldn't they be? They have reportedly offered the 22-year-old a new deal and remain in talks over an extension. But unfortunately for Dundee, there seems to be a growing interest in Cameron from Rangers, who are on the case. Now, listen, I'm not going to bash Dundee for letting their best players' contracts run down, because it's a Scottish Premiership thing. It's an issue with the league outside of the top two clubs, and even more so just outside of Celtic, who do really well when it comes to contracts, getting players signed up, selling players on at the right moment. I mean, Rangers sometimes are good with it, sometimes are not. But the rest of the clubs, they just seem unable to tie down their better players for long deals. And a lot of times you see key players for all these clubs getting their contracts run down. I mean, Dundee have got it this year with a bunch of players' contracts running down. You see Kilmarnock with Danny Armstrong, his contract running down, and arguably he is their best player. So, look, we see it every single season. It's going to keep happening. Unfortunately, I don't think Lyall Cameron will sign a new deal with Dundee, and the likelihood is he will probably leave in the summer, unless, of course, he leaves in the January transfer window. Dundee might be better just taking whatever they can get for him now. But we know last year that Rangers did a similar thing with Connor Barron. They could have went for Connor Barron in January. They decided not to. They decided to wait until the end of the season. They thought they got Connor Barron on a free, but it turns out after a tribunal that Rangers were ordered to pay Aberdeen around £650,000 for the midfielder, with possible further payments and a 10% sell-on fee. So, I mean, at the time, it looked like Rangers were getting Connor Barron for nothing, but as we know now, it didn't play out that way. So the big question is, if Rangers are interested in Lyall Cameron, why do something similar? Why wait till the end of the season, sign Lyall Cameron on a free, but then have the potential of being ordered to pay Dundee possibly even more money than you would have to if you get him in January? Surely it would make more sense for Rangers to come to a deal with Dundee right now for Lyall Cameron. That way Rangers know exactly how much they're paying for him. They can decide whether it's worth it or not. Plus, they get Lyall Cameron in the squad in January. He becomes a Rangers player right now in this transfer window, rather than having to wait to the end of the season. I just don't think it's worth it if you're going to sign the player once he's out of contract, and then you don't know, you've got this whole case hanging over your head, and you don't know if you're going to be ordered to pay maybe 200,000, 400,000, 600,000, because you could end up paying more than you think the guy's valued at. I mean, let's be honest, Connor Barron, his contract had ran out, and Rangers have been, potentially by it's all said and done, you know, that transfer fee could cost Rangers £1 million. And I mean, would they have had to pay £1 million to get Barron in January? Probably not. So Rangers, in the end, probably paid more for Barron by getting him once his contract ran out. And I just think it's a similar situation for Lyall Cameron. If Rangers really do want him, it would make sense for me just to get him in January, and you can just, you know, sort out a deal with Dundee, and you know exactly what you're offering and what Dundee's accepting, rather than you sign him at the end of the season once his contract runs out, and then you're just waiting down the line to be hit with payments and you don't know what it's going to be. So for me, I would just get him in January, unless, of course, maybe Rangers don't have the money, maybe they're not ready to sign Lyall Cameron or sign anybody. We know that Philippe Clement reportedly has been told he will get one, if not maybe two players in this window. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But look, if according to the Daily Record, Rangers are looking to try and snap up some of the best young Scottish talent for the short and long term. And obviously we know that it is important as well for European competitions and the homegrown rule. But I think Rangers do lack Scottish players. I think they lack that Scottish identity. And for me, they need to start trying to sign the best players in the league. I think we've seen over the years, ever since I've been watching football, Celtic and Rangers, a lot of their success has come from taking the best players from other clubs. They've signed, the key players from the other top teams or the lower league teams or whatnot, whether it be Celtic getting the likes of Paul Hartley. I remember that season they got Paul Hartley, they got Stephen Presley. Rangers got John Souttar before they got Nacho Novo. Celtic getting Scott Brown from Hibernian. There's always been a trend of the old firm signing, some of the best players. Rangers signing Kanigia from Dundee. That's always been the case, where the old firm sign the best players from the other clubs. Now, we have seen in recent years that's kind of got away from Celtic and Rangers. I mean, you look at some of the top players that have left Scotland and went abroad and not went to Celtic and Rangers. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of obviously John McGinn. I mean, that was a big one. You've got Aaron Hickey, another big one. Calvin Ramsey from Aberdeen. So, there has been quite a few. Lewis Ferguson, there's been a lot of players over the past 5, 6, 7 years that have decided to trade in Scottish football for Europe rather than go to Celtic or Rangers. Whereas I think if you look in the past, that tended not to happen. Normally, if you were in Scotland and you were going to get a big move, you would get it by going to Celtic or Rangers first. But now we're seeing players just bypass the old firm and move. Now, maybe that's because the Celtic and Rangers just don't really value these players. Maybe they don't think they're good enough. Maybe they'd rather bring in players from abroad. But I think there's lots of good players in the Scottish Premiership. I think if you looked at the teams outside of the top two, I mean, there's probably at least one player from each club, and some clubs have multiple players, but there's probably at least one player from each club that would make a difference, if not in the starting 11, at least as a squad player. So, I mean, just look at Celtic signing Luke McCowan. Been a great signing, and I think he will just get better and better. So, Rangers signing Lyall Cameron could be similar. I mean, he is only 22. He's, 5 years younger than Luke McCowan. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as Luke McCowan, but I still think he's a good player. And who's to say in 4 or 5 years he couldn't be on McCowan's level, or maybe even better than McCowan? So it's a no-brainer. If I was Rangers, I'd snap this guy up. I would do it in January. I would make sure you know what you're paying for, and then you don't have to wait until the next year or whatever, and then get hit with £10 million in a court case, because Rangers, that's the last thing they can afford. So, aye guys, there you go. Lyall Cameron apparently could be heading to Rangers, but it looks like it's more likely to happen in the summer. So let us know down below, would you make this deal? Lyall Cameron, Rangers, would you take him? Do you not think he's good enough for Rangers? Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll catch you in the next one. Until then, peace.